The roar of motorcycle engines filled the air as a gang of leather-clad bikers pulled into a dusty roadside bar. They were loud, brash, and ready to make trouble. Among them, a confident woman sat quietly at the corner of the bar, sipping her drink. Her calm demeanor and unshaken focus made her stand out, but it also caught the wrong kind of attention. The bikers, fueled by drinks and ego, decided to test her limits, throwing taunts and pushing boundaries. What they didn't know was that this unassuming woman wasn't just any bystander. Beneath her composed exterior lay the heart of a warrior. She was a former Force Recon Marine, trained to handle situations far more dangerous than this. As the tension in the room escalated, no one could have predicted what would happen next. Let's just say they were about to learn a lesson they'd never forget. The leader of the group, a tall man with a scruffy beard and a smug grin, swaggered over to the woman's table. His crew watched from behind, laughing and jeering, egging him on. She didn't flinch as he leaned in too close, cracking a joke at her expense. Instead, she met his gaze with a calm, steady look that seemed to throw him off for a split second. "Not much of a talker, huh?" he sneered, trying to keep his bravado intact. The woman stayed silent, her posture relaxed but her eyes sharp, like she was sizing him up. What they didn't realize was that she wasn't intimidated, she was calculating. Years of training had taught her to read people in an instant, and she saw right through their false confidence. The air of the bar grew quieter as the bikers loomed closer, their laughter fading into uneasy murmurs. The bartender, an older man with a tired expression, wiped the counter nervously, sensing that something was about to boil over. A few of the other patrons shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure whether to intervene or slip out unnoticed. The woman finally broke her silence, her voice calm but firm. "You really don't want to do this." Her tone wasn't a threat. It was a warning, laced with a quiet authority that unsettled even the rowdiest biker. But the leader laughed it off, gesturing to his crew as if her words were nothing more than a joke. "Look, lady, I'm just being friendly," he said mockingly, his grin widening. "But maybe you're the one who needs to lighten up." What none of them realized was that her restraint wasn't weakness, it was a choice. She had faced situations far more intense than this, and every move she made now was deliberate. Her training had taught her not just how to fight, but when. As the leader reached for her drink, a flash of something darker crossed her eyes. The room braced itself for what was coming next, though no one could yet imagine the full weight of the storm that was about to unfold. Rue heavier as the bikers circled closer. Little did they know they weren't closing in on prey. They were stepping into a trap. The air in the bar felt thick, heavy with tension as the leader reached for her drink, his fingers brushing the edge of the glass. For the first time, the woman moved. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, a shift in her posture, the way her shoulders squared, and her hand rested lightly on the table. "You've got one last chance to walk away," she said, her voice steady and low. It wasn't loud, but the weight of her words carried across the room. The leader paused, his grin faltering just for a moment before his pride kicked in. His crew roared with laughter, urging him on, but there was an edge of unease in their voices now. He smirked, trying to shake off the feeling. "What are you gonna do, lady?" he taunted. The woman didn't answer. Instead, she stood slowly, her eyes scanning the room with the precision of someone who had been in far worse situations. Her movements were measured, deliberate, as if she was giving everyone one final chance to de-escalate. But the bikers, drunk on bravado, didn't take the hint. The leader stepped closer, but before he could say another word, the atmosphere shifted completely. It wasn't what she said. It was the way she carried herself, the unmistakable presence of someone who had trained for combat, who knew exactly how to take control. The onlookers could feel it now, too. The bikers had picked the wrong target, and they were seconds away from realizing it. Just as the leader squared his shoulders, preparing to make another move, the sound of a chair scraping against the floor broke the tension. From the back of the bar, an older man, dressed in a faded military jacket, slowly rose to his feet. His weathered face and sharp eyes suggested he'd seen more than his fair share of trouble. The root turned toward him as he cleared his throat. "Son," he said, addressing the leader, his voice calm but firm, "you don't know who you're messing with." The leader glanced at him, clearly irritated. "Stay out of it, old man," he barked, trying to regain control. But the woman's eyes flicked to the stranger, and for the first time, there was a hint of recognition. "Reynolds," she said, her voice quieter now. The man nodded slightly, his expression unreadable. The bikers exchanged confused glances, sensing they'd stumbled into something much bigger than they'd realized. The leader, however, was too far gone to back down. "What's this? Some kind of reunion?" "Cute," he sneered, stepping closer to the woman. But the older man didn't move. "This isn't a game," he warned, his tone icy. "You need to leave. Now." The bikers hesitated, but their leader ignored the warning, pushing forward. That's when the woman stepped to the side, giving the older man a clear line of sight. "You want to stay?" she asked the leader, her voice razor sharp. "Then you're about to find out exactly how big of a mistake you've made." The tension in the room spiked, leaving everyone frozen as they braced for what would happen next. The leader lunged forward, his confidence masking the uncertainty flickering in his eyes. In a single fluid motion, the woman sidestepped, catching his arm and twisting it effortlessly. He gasped in shock, his bravado crumbling as she pinned him against the table with precise control. The room fell silent, the bikers frozen in disbelief. The woman leaned in close, her voice calm but cutting. "I told you to walk away." She released him with a sharp shove, and he stumbled back, clutching his arm, his face a mix of pain and humiliation. Before anyone could react, the older man, Reynolds, took a step forward, his voice calm but commanding. "This is where it ends. You boys leave now, and no one gets hurt." His presence, coupled with the woman's effortless takedown, left the bikers rattled. They began to back away, muttering excuses under their breath. Just as the group turned to leave, the leader stopped, his eyes narrowing. "This isn't over," he growled, trying to salvage his pride. But before he could finish, the woman spoke again, her tone as steady as ever. "Actually, it is." She reached into her jacket, pulling out a badge, Force Recon. The sight of it drained the remaining fight from the leader's face. His crew tugged at his jacket, urging him toward the exit. As they stumbled out into the night, the bartender let out a breath he'd been holding. Reynolds turned to the woman, a faint smile on his face. "Still got it, huh,